News on the Cowboys Report. Mike McCarthy is out as the Cowboys head coach for the 2025 campaign and beyond. The two sides could not agree to a deal. Now McCarthy is not going to return. There's been conflicting reports on how close the two sides got, what conversations were had, etc. Don't miss out on any Dallas Cowboys news as we move forward. We will have all the updates on the Cowboys coaching search here and a whole lot more. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Now, McCarthy's done. His contract was set to expire Tuesday, January 14th. I think that was actually at midnight. He could have interviewed on Wednesday. The Cowboys had declined the request from the Bears for McCarthy to be interviewed. They went 7-10 this year. They had 3 straight 12-win seasons, and it wasn't good enough. My biggest issue, and this will tie into the upcoming coaching search, I think the process with Mike McCarthy here was a disaster. Whether there were contract talks, whether there weren't contract talks, how close they got, this shouldn't have really been a negotiation in the first place. Either Mike McCarthy was the guy you wanted as your head coach and you missed somehow, or he wasn't the guy you wanted and you needed to move on and start your coaching search. Every other team has begun their search. The Patriots already hired somebody who you were linked to in Mike Vrabel. And the end result was you didn't do anything. You waited, you dragged your feet again for the second time in a row. You dragged your feet trying to make the decision with Jason Garrett. You did it again with McCarthy. This team does not learn from their mistakes, and it bothers me. Now, this is what Tom Pelissero, who broke the news earlier today, said. McCarthy is out as the Cowboys coach. Sides couldn't agree on the length of the contract, and McCarthy will pursue other opportunities. He leaves Dallas with a winning record and 3 playoff appearances. Again, I question why it was even down to contract length. If you didn't offer him a long deal, then he clearly wasn't your guy, and he should have moved on already. And if he was your guy, why did you offer a short-term deal, if that is how the negotiations went? The process stinks. The end result, though, of McCarthy being out, I think a lot of you might be on board with. Are you happy with the decision to move on from Mike McCarthy? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote at the pinned comment of today's show. Again, the results, they make sense to me. And I want to mention Jerry Jones here a lot too, and Stephen Jones in the front office. I don't like the way that they handle things. I am not a fan of the process from the Dallas Cowboys. But I do think the results need to change. And the claim that, well, you're not going to do better than Mike McCarthy, or, well, it's still the Jones boys in charge, that doesn't lead to change. This result, this change of the head coach might not get it either, but at least it gives you the hope of it. You can't do nothing and expect different results. The definition of insanity. Do the same thing over and over again. This is doing something different. You have to take a risk here. You have to try something. It might be worse. I do want to acknowledge that. There is a real outcome, a real range of outcomes. At the Cowboys' next head coach is worse than Mike McCarthy. It is the danger of going down the mystery box path. It might be a boat. Might be tickets to a comedy show. I need a boat. I want a boat. I didn't have a boat in Mike McCarthy. I don't know what's in the mystery box, but I didn't have what I wanted in the first place. So I had to try something else. I would rather run the risk of winning 5 games, winning 6 games, being a worse team, than, hey, I'll be a playoff team, but I kind of feel like my ceiling's capped, and I don't get to go to where I want to go. You have to take the risk. This at least opens the door for the possibility of getting better. Do I trust the front office? No, I don't. But you couldn't just run it back and expect it was going to work this time around. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time's got a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. It's curation designed to help you find better value for not just sports, like, Stars games and Mavs games, but concerts, comedy, theater, everything else in between. All-in pricing feature shows your total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Terms apply. Check out that link, gametime.co, and use code CHATSPORTS as well for $20 off your first purchase. So in the end, the Mike McCarthy era looks a lot similar to the way it began. 6-10, defense struggling to begin, got a little bit better. Offense didn't look very consistently good, although they were better in 2020 when Kellen Moore was calling the plays. And the offense was bad to begin this year, and a late run doesn't do enough to save McCarthy's job because the hay was in the barn and took him a week to make the decision anyway. The playoff results were what killed you. It sure felt like after the regular season of 2023, you were going to get a Mike McCarthy extension. When they didn't go down that path, they should have moved on. They should have said, okay, this is it. Doing the lame duck stuff didn't work with Jason Garrett, and it got you the exact same spot you are in right now. I am fine moving on from Mike McCarthy because it gives you the hope and the upside of things getting better. There are problems, looking at you, Jones boys, that exist. But you couldn't just roll it back and do nothing. And this Cowboys team was doing nonsense about negotiating and all kinds of stuff that just, it didn't make sense for what you knew you had on Mike McCarthy. Should have been made a week ago. So give me your one-word reaction to the Cowboys dumping Mike McCarthy. Moving on, parting ways, whatever you want to call it. Give me the one word for me in the comment section of today's show. Now, we will do plenty of stuff on the top candidates here that we'll do a full cut on that later this afternoon, I promise you. But I do want to acknowledge the rest of the coaching staff. They are all out of contracts as well. So extensions, re-signings, whatever, those will be needed there. Now, whenever you fire a coach, the possibility of them all leaving is already up for grabs anyway. So it's not a huge surprise necessarily. But it also allows for the potential to have massive changes across the board in your coaching staff, which I think you needed it. I'm kind of over this whole, we always find a way to keep one guy or two guys or three guys and force coaches to stick around with conditions. Like the last times you've had coaches, really, Wade Phillips and Mike McCarthy, you picked the OC for them. Let's not do that again. Now, most importantly, I have one real request for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office as they look to replace Mike McCarthy. You need to do a real coaching search. You have to. I don't want to do what they did last time, which was interview a couple candidates, pick one guy, and go. You need to look at outside candidates. You need to expand your comfort zone because it is way too comfortable in Dallas for this front office. Don't just interview 5 coaches. Don't fulfill the Rooney Rule. Interview one or two others and pick the guy that you like the most. Do a real search. Go do what the Bears are doing, which they probably don't need to do it as much. But you haven't done a real coaching search since you hired Wade Phillips. You don't have a great feel for who the top candidates are. It is tough. It is to be able to identify who makes a good head coach because the guys that get promoted are often coordinators and they don't always translate on offense or defense. So go interview a dozen people, a dozen real candidates, and see who impresses you. Maybe you'll be surprised. But if you go in targeting one or two guys, you're going to limit your pool. Don't just interview coaches who you know or former head coaches. Do a real search and try to set yourself up for success and change your ways in a way you haven't for a very long time. Now, who do you want as the next Cowboys head coach? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Final thoughts here again. Real search is all I want. Let's interview real coaches. I'll save my negative names for a future video. But Jerry, I need you to try here. I need you to step up. You should be willing to pay whatever. Spare no expense. Go. Your top guy wants $20 million. Cool, pay him. Who cares? There's no salary cap on coaches. Because right now, I think I speak for a lot of people watching right now, I don't trust the front office to make the right decision. I don't trust them. So I need them to prove it to me. And that starts with controlling your process. You can't always control the results. Your process can be good, which it hasn't been for a long time.